People have only seen the healthy Ross, but how strong is the peak Ross? Lee ran, who unexpectedly traveled back to 2007, became Ross's best friend, and the two were known as the Illinois Gemini. Joined the alliance in the same year, but their situations were vastly different. Lee ran, who is equipped with a system, and Ross, who foresees the peak. What kind of waves can the two of them create in the NBA? There were 96 generations of veterans who never died, and their peak is still here. Later, there will be 03 ambitious and a new day. There is also the arrogant son of the Pan-10s, rubbing his fists and preparing for action. However, none of this is a problem for Lee ran. What we want is not 1 or 2, nor 3 or 4. Lee ran played with the ring on his hand with a smile, and you must remember that what I don't give you, you can't take it. Keywords of the novel. My basketball is also very good without pop-ups, and I am also very good at playing basketball. Download the complete set of TXT and read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Injury will only make me stronger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Injury will only make me stronger. New York Presbyterian Columbia and Cornell University Hospital, New York Special Surgery Hospital. This is the oldest and most professional orthopedic specialty hospital in the United States, established in 1863, with a level of expertise even surpassing that of the Mayo Clinic. Lee ran opened his eyes somewhat bewildered. The first thing he saw was his right leg, which was suspended high and cast in plaster. Then, the pungent smell of disinfectant poured into his nose, causing him to sneeze. You woke up and the surgery was very successful. As you are still young, it will take approximately 22.30 weeks for you to recover. Once you are fully recovered, you can live like a normal person, but your career should come to an end. A black doctor wearing a green coat, a doctor's hat, and a pair of glasses, holding a hard leather notebook, said to him expressionlessly. As the most authoritative doctor in the field of ligaments in this hospital, he had seen too many proud children who died prematurely. Lee ran was just an ordinary one to him, so he expressed no pressure on Lee ran to say these extremely cruel words. What kind of dream is this? Lee ran looked at the black doctor in confusion, and then let out a groan in agony from the sharp pain near his right ankle. Don't move around. The anesthesia time has just passed, and you may be in pain for a while. If the pain is unbearable, I can give you pain relief injections. The nurse next to him quickly stepped forward to comfort Lee ran and wanted him to lie down again. Lee ran simply lay in bed and closed his eyes. Endless memories flood into my mind. Did you really travel through time? Not long after, Lee ran truly integrated the memories that originally belonged to this body. Lee ran, who shares the same name as him in this time and space, was a full sports scholarship recipient at the University of Memphis. He was a well-known basketball star throughout Chicago during his high school years, and even led Damien High School to win the state championship of Illinois with a perfect record for 2 consecutive years. He has a strong playing style and excellent physical fitness, and has been named the best high school player in the state for 2 consecutive years, known as the combination of James and Wade. But if nothing unexpected happens, Lee ran still has an accident. During the first training class in college, Lee ran, who was eager to showcase himself, started the training competition without sufficient warm-up. Then he became tragic. After only a few rounds of fighting, without any confrontation, Lee ran's right leg softened and he fell to the floor, then covered his right leg and howled incessantly. After a simple examination, the University of Memphis, which highly valued Lee ran, promptly sent him to the largest orthopedic hospital in the United States, Big Apple City, 1,500 kilometers away. But the result did not change. Right Achilles tendon rupture. The dream of a new basketball star had just begun when it plummeted into the mud. What's the beginning? Lee ran gave a bitter smile. The patient has already woken up, you can go in and see him, but you can only visit for 10 minutes. The patient has just completed the surgery and needs sufficient rest. The nurse's whispered admonition came from outside the door. Good. After speaking, a tall black boy pushed the door and walked into the hospital room. Looking at the face with sharp edges and a short inch close to the scalp, which was exceptionally familiar in both past and present lives, Lee Rand's face showed a heartfelt smile. Hey, little bear. Lee Rand smiled and said hello. Little Bear is a nickname given to him by his grandmother, and only his family and closest friends can call him that. But Lee Rand, who grew up playing together since childhood, can certainly be considered one of them. After Lee Rand was injured, he also accompanied him all the way, traveling thousands of miles to New York, until Lee Rand successfully completed the surgery. At this moment, the little bear, whose nickname and appearance did not match at all, had a sad expression on his face. Brother, are you okay? His eyes were slightly red, indicating that he had secretly cried outside. To be honest, at the moment of injury, I felt like my brain was blank, but later on it improved a lot. Besides, it was just a broken Achilles tendon, and didn't Dominic Wilkins also recover from it? Lee Rand thought for a moment, but instead of blaming others, he said hopefully. Now, on the contrary, Lee Rand is comforting Little Bear. But his heart was filled with gloom. The essence of human movies is only a special case for so many years. No matter Kobe, Cousins, Isaiah Thomas or Durant, they haven't completely returned to their peak state after their injuries, and Isaiah Thomas retired directly. But Lee Rand looked up and quietly looked at his best brother standing in front of him, with slightly red eyes and a sad expression on his face. The memories that originally existed in his body, combined with memories brought from another time and space, made him empathize at this moment. Compared to the hardships you will have to endure in the future, my injuries are nothing at all. The future NBA top pick, the youngest MVP winner, and the eternal Win City Rose. Derrick Ross. I don't know if the timeline has been changed or what. In this life, Lee Rand grew up with Ross from a young age, and they went to elementary and middle school together. They have been dominating the Illinois high school basketball industry in high school and are known as the Twin Stars of Illinois. When we graduated from high school, we also received a full scholarship from the University of Memphis and made plans to come here. And both of them have excellent athletic talents, but their division of labor on the field is slightly different. We will win the state championship, NCAA championship, and NBA championship together, right? In the memory that Lee Rand is not yet very familiar with, Ross lay with him on the lawn by the river, with a green face full of ambition and confidence that did not match his age. Although he had not personally experienced that memory, Lee Rand still seemed to be able to smell the fragrant scent of green grass. Of course. Lee Rand, holding a blade of grass in his mouth, also smiled and said by the winding river. Two teenagers with yellow skin and black skin, standing by the unknown river, made bold statements from their hearts. Thinking of those youthful and reckless years, and looking at his friends in front of him, Lee Rand temporarily forgot about being still lying in the hospital bed. After entering the University of Memphis, although they had just started school, the two of them had been identified as the absolute core of the Memphis Tigers. They will form a super outfield duo with another NCAA star player, Chris Douglas Roberts, which will make the entire NCAA shiver and compete in this season's NCAA games. But remembering Ross's brilliant yet tumultuous career after entering the NBA, the smile on Lee Rand's face disappeared again. Lee Rand sighed in his heart, wondering how he could help Ross since he was reborn into this era. If he is not injured, he may still enter the NBA with Ross. Please help him pay attention. But now, what I am suffering from is Achilles tendon rupture, which is a devastating injury for any athlete. If not injured, how strong would the combination of Ross, Roberts, and me be? If I could enter the NBA, how strong would I grow? Looking at Ross with a melancholy expression on his face, Lee Rand silently thought in his heart. The two of them started chatting, each with their own thoughts and appearing absent-minded. After a while, the door to the ward opened. The visitation time has ended. The nurse appeared at the door with a cold face. Ross patted the back of Lee Rand's hand. "I'll leave first, Lee. You can rest assured and recuperate. Our hopes now all depend on you alone. Come on, little bear." Lee Rand squeezed out a smile and said to Ross. With a muffled sound of closing the door, Lee Rand lay down on the bed, staring blankly at the white ceiling. The system is currently on 1%. 2%. Just then, a voice suddenly rang out from Lee Rand's mind. "Who?" Lee Rand was suddenly surprised. No one answered, but Lee Rand was convinced that what he had just seen was not an illusion. Because a slowly moving progress bar is slowly wriggling forward in his consciousness. What is this? Lee Rand watched as the progress bar slowly grew, feeling both surprised and delighted in his heart. As a traveler, how can one not have a golden finger? After a long wait, the progress bar finally reached its endpoint. It seemed like a thunderbolt had fallen in his mind, and Lee Rand's whole body was stirred up. A golden curtain slowly unfolded, and a line of big characters appeared in it. "Injuries will only make me stronger. Bound host. Lee Rand. Start binding sports projects. Find and host the closest sports project. Detected that the host is best at sports such as basketball, and has a close relationship with NBA player Derrick Ross and the host, with a binding project of basketball. System startup." Then, Lee Rand's simulated image appeared in the big screen, holding a basketball and full of energy. On the other side, it is his current attributes. Lee Rand, 18 years old, height 193 centimeters, 199 centimeters, arm span 217 centimeters, 221 centimeters, weight 85 kilograms, sports. Strength 73, speed 91, 56, agility 83, 45, bounce 93, 48, endurance 81-inch, projection. 3-pointers. 77, mid-range shooting. 65, free throw. 70-inch, inner line. Back body technique. 17, inner line projection. 35-inch, rebounds. Defensive rebounds. 23, offensive rebounds. 22-inch, breakthrough. Ball control. 71, footsteps. 61, fancy moves. 57-inch, organization. Vision. 35, passing. 38-inch, defense. Inner defense. 44, outer defense. 57, co-defense. 66, block. 68, steals. 55-inch, ability value. 56, 67, status. Achilles tendon rupture, 149 days. Skill. None. Evaluation. NCAA elite player. Lee Rand looked at his attributes and couldn't speak for a long time. Because he grew up with Ross from a young age, he naturally learned a lot of basketball skills with his 3 brothers. The 2 of them started formal basketball training very early on. How does my attribute grow and feel so crooked? Lee, Sue, and Min are all top-notch physical qualities, and their 3-point and 2-point projection abilities are also considered excellent from the perspective of NCAA, coupled with impressive internal and external defense and breakthrough abilities. My positioning is a 3D breakthrough expert. But what is the red font in parentheses after agility and bouncing? After sighing, Lee Rand picked up some small details in his attributes. It should be because of injury that the attributes decreased. After thinking for a while, Lee Rand could only attribute it to this reason. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Lottery and Player Collection Bag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Lottery and Player Collection Bag. The system is turned on and rewards a new host with a large gift package. A large gold box with various color bands tied to the outside appeared in the system space. Li Ran naturally chose to open it directly. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100 ability points, once every 10 consecutive draws, and one portion of the recovery potion, top. Level. What is 10 consecutive draws? Is there a guarantee? Will it be crooked? Li Ran eagerly explored the secret of his own system. Everything in this system was incredibly fresh to him. Sure enough, Li Ran found the answer he wanted in the store column that occupied half of the system. Recovery potion, low. Level. 50 ability points. 20% increase in stamina recovery speed, lasting for 3 days, injury duration 0.3 days. Exchange requires level 1 recovery potion, intermediate. 100 ability points. Increase stamina recovery speed by 50% for 7 days, with injury duration of 0.7 days. Exchange requires level 5 recovery potion, advanced. 500 ability points. Effect. Increases stamina recovery speed by 100% for 30 days, with injuries lasting for 0.30 days. Exchange requires a level of 10 recovery potion, top. Level, increases stamina recovery speed by 200%, lasting for 100 days, and injuries last for 0.100 days without leaving any sequelae. 1500 capability points. Exchange requires a level of 20. This is the top item in the store. Good guy, the system is generous enough to provide top-notch recovery potion directly, so that I won't leave any hidden dangers after recovering from my Achilles tendon rupture, right? Li Ran was overjoyed and then continued to look down. There are 2 turntables below, with the silver one on the left indicating a regular draw and the gold one on the right indicating a super draw. The circle in the middle of each turntable is divided into 2 halves, with different characters written on them. The regular lottery is, draw once. 200, 10 consecutive draws. 2000, free. The super lottery is, draw once. 2000, 10 consecutive draws. 20,000, next to it is the lottery rules. Silver reward. Silver player's treasure bag, with a ability value of 70.80 to restore low. Level potions, attribute potions, and silver level equipment. Gold reward. Gold player collection bag, ability value 80.90, intermediate recovery potion, attribute potion. Gold level equipment. Diamond reward. Diamond player collection bag, ability value 90.95, advanced recovery potion, attribute potion, top of the line set. Epic level reward. Epic player collectible bag, ability value 95.99, top. Level healing potion, attribute potion. The ultimate set, an opportunity for attribute fusion. 10 regular lucky draws will result in 1 gold reward. 10 times in a super lottery, 1 epic reward must be given. In addition, on the super lottery, there is a large poster-like thing, which shows the back of a small player with dirty braids and headbands. He supports his right hand on his ear in a listening posture, raising his head high and looking rebellious. On the back number, the big number 3 and Iverson's name stand out prominently. Limited time. The probability of extracting Iverson's collection bag is up. Silver and gold rewards. Draw. Li Ran skipped the current up prize pool, which was not something he could currently achieve. He eagerly clicked on the free 10 consecutive draws. The silver turntable gradually turned into a stream of light from slow to fast, and after a while, it stopped slowly from fast to slow. 10 cards rose from the turntable, 9 of which shimmered with silver light, except for the last one, which shimmered with dazzling golden light. Congratulations on obtaining Recovery Potion Low Level X6, Silver Player Collection Bag X2, Attribute Potion X1, Gold Player Collection Bag X1. 10 cards were flipped open one by one, and 6 of them were filled with the lowest level of Recovery Potion. There were 2 silver boxes with the word 70.80 written on them, a bottle of green potion, and a gold box with the words 80.90 written on them. The low. Level recovery potion is not needed now, Li Ran first looks at the attribute potion. Attribute potion, small. Randomly increase 1 point of attribute. After use, the attributes will permanently increase, and the shelf life of the medicine is 3 days. Please use it as soon as possible. This way. Li Ran directly clicked to use it. Using attribute potions, small, agility +1. Watching himself become 84 agile, Li Ran clenched his fist. Third prize. Next is the highlight. Player collection bag. Li Ran and the fly rubbed their hands and eagerly opened the first silver card bag. He likes to leave the best behind, and the golden ones should be opened last. The process of opening the card pack is a bit like a game called Hearthstone Legend, which has not yet been released, but the era when Li Ran traveled through had suddenly died in China. As the card pack swelled to its limit, a silver light leaped out of the pack. Congratulations on obtaining the Tony Allen player card. Using the player card allows you to obtain a random attribute for that player. For Teacher Tony, what impressed Li Ran the most was a sentence he said. "I don't quite understand the matter of the attack, don't try to understand either." Teacher Tony should be considered a relic in the silver card, after all, no one would expect him to attack, would he? Outer defense. Outer defense. Li Ran couldn't help but mutter in his heart, praying that he could draw Tony Allen's outside defense. He estimated that Tony's external defense should be around 90. However, Tony Allen is also a pity. He was once known as the existence of the Green Army's Little Wade, not only able to score 20+ in multiple consecutive games, but also able to fly and escape. His athletic ability and ammunition speed are the top choices. Unfortunately, after suffering a major knee ligament tear in a game, the once spirited Tony Allen disappeared and was replaced by a defensive powerhouse. 3 times, 1 defense, 3 times, 2 defense, playing with you. Laukow once said that the only 4 people who can push him to the strongest are Durant, Nash, James, and Tony Allen. The first 3 people are all known for their offense, but Tony Allen is a pure defensive player. His defensive ability can be imagined. Tony Allen's card flipped and 2 big characters appeared on the back. Snatching. 81. Congratulations on obtaining Tony Allen's steal attribute. Would you like to replace it? Li Ran let out a mixed sigh of excitement and disappointment. However, although it's not perimeter defense, steals are also good, as they are also defensive attributes. He decisively replaced the preemptive attribute. The card turned into a stream of light and disappeared into his body. Looking at the attributes again, originally only 55 steals jumped to 81. This is an NBA elite level steal ability, with Tony Allen contributing an average of 1.4 steals per game in his career. Although not as close to 3 steals as the old Rogues and Iverson, it is still enough for Li Ran to use now. The first silver card gave him such a big surprise, and Li Ran looked forward to the 2 cards that had not yet been opened. However, the second card left him somewhat puzzled. Silver. Headbands. What is this? Li Ran scratched his head as he looked at the ordinary, 2 yuan per hairband on the market. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Won the big prize. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Won the big prize. Silver headband, silver level equipment, external defense +3. Just after pulling the headband, the system prompt also sounded. Congratulations on obtaining your first piece of equipment. When you equip a piece of equipment, you can freely choose the display style and whether to wear it, without affecting the effectiveness of the equipment's attributes. Li Ran nodded and directly equipped the headband onto his own image in the space. His defensive attributes on the outside have undergone some changes, from 57 to 57 +3. The ability to defend on the outside is considered a pass in the NBA, but it is completely sufficient in the NCAA. Li Ran looked at his attributes with satisfaction and then turned his gaze to the last card. The Golden Player Collection Bag can be used to unlock player cards with abilities ranging from 80 to 90. After a moment, in a ward of a special surgery hospital, a terrifying cry of ghosts and gods came from the air. The nurse arrived at the ward as soon as possible and looked at Li Ran lying in bed with a frightened expression, his face flushed, and his right leg raised high. What happened? Li Ran shook his head and said, "It's nothing, it's just that he's not in a good mood." He suppressed the excitement in his heart and looked dejected on his face. The nurse only warned him a few words and left the ward when he was seriously injured and in a bad mood. As soon as the nurse left, Li Ran covered her mouth with a look of ecstasy in her eyes. Winning the big prize. First prize. Special prize. Li Ran's heart was filled with such thoughts. Because on the golden card floating quietly in his mind, there was a person's name written. Dennis Rodman. On the back of the card, there are 4 words written neatly. Front. Field. Basket. Board. After these 4 words, there is a number that is reasonable but should not appear within this range. 99, it is said that it should not appear in this range because 80.90 is not considered a superstar, or a core player of a weak team, a starter of a strong team, or a player at the 6th man level. Therefore, a full 99 attribute is almost impossible to appear. It's natural to say that, because throughout the 70-year history of the NBA, Rodman can be considered one of the top 3 or even the strongest rebounding king. The rebounding king who has been on a cliff for 7 consecutive years in his career, what should his rebounding value be if it's not 99? You should know that his opponents at that time were the 4 major forwards, such as Monin and Mutombo. Compared to the gold card drawing Rodman, the silver card drawing Tony Allen is as simple as a dessert before a meal. Li Ran looked at the system space with only some recovery potions left, feeling somewhat unsatisfied, and instinctively wanted to use up that top-tier recovery potion bottle. But he immediately suppressed it. The status indicates that his Achilles tendon rupture injury will take another 149 days to heal. If he drinks that top-notch potion now, he will only need 50 days to fully recover from the injury without leaving any sequelae. Are you joking? He doesn't want to be sliced and studied by anyone. After thinking for a moment, Li Ran used up a small recovery potion first. The injury condition immediately took effect, turning into 146 days. He plans to use up these 6 bottles of small recovery medicine first, and then he should be discharged from the hospital, and then use the larger ones. Making a fortune quietly is Li Ran's favorite thing to do. The next day, Li Ran was lying in bed reading a newspaper when suddenly the door to the ward was opened. A refined white man and a Chinese man whom Li Ran was particularly familiar with walked in one after another. Li Ran, who had been in the basketball industry in his past life, naturally knew the 2 of them. The white man is the current head coach of the University of Memphis, Larry Brown's apprentice, and John Calipari. Chinese men, on the other hand, are Coach Cui Wanjun, who has been studying in the United States in recent years and serves as assistant coach to Calipari. Calipari left a huge reputation in the NCAA, even serving as the head coach of the Kentucky University men's basketball team on an 8-year, $31.65 million contract in 2009, which is also the world's highest salary record in college basketball. This is enough to show his level of coaching. Although he studied under Larry Brown, his most skilled system is DDM, also known as dribbling and breakthrough attack tactics. This tactic is somewhat similar to artillery, and it is also the same tactic used by the University of Memphis. Ross is undoubtedly the best work under his command. Upon seeing the 2 people enter, Li Ran put down the newspaper and greeted them with a smile. "Ran, I'm sorry to hear that you're injured," Calipari said calmly as he sat down. "I heard that the surgery was very successful, and I feel at ease. You can rest assured and recuperate, don't worry about the team situation." Li Ran nodded. He and Ross were admitted to school by Calipari, who was considered his legitimate players. They suffered such serious injuries right after entering school, and Calipari must have been under a lot of pressure. Don't worry, coach. When I recover from my injury, I will continue to play. The most important thing for you now is to rest assured and recuperate, don't think about anything else. Calipari waved his hand, his face not looking very good. Li Ran was taken aback at the sight. What does this mean? After casually chatting about the injury situation, Calipari stood up. Chui, let's chat with Li Ran for a while. He stood up to Chui Wanjun, who was eagerly picking up the newspaper that Li Ran had just put down, and walked out of the hospital room. Li Ran stared blankly at Calipari, who was somewhat abnormal. Chui Wanjun watched Calipari leave with a bitter smile on his face before sitting down. Calipari regrets giving you the full scholarship so easily. He believes that you have been seriously injured and are no longer able to continue playing for the school. His contract with the school will expire next year. In the United States, once a full scholarship is issued, it cannot be recovered. As long as the player trains hard, is not absent, and has a GPA greater than 2.0, even if he has not made any progress during his college years, the full scholarship will be issued. Li Ran understood. Isn't that to say that Calipari doesn't know people well? No wonder he has a bad attitude towards himself. Who is not good at receiving these scholarships? I received a glass man and basically reimbursed them after not playing a game. Don't worry, coach. I will definitely get better. I also want to bring the championship to the school with Derek, Li Ran said confidently. Having confidence is a good thing, but don't put too much pressure on it. Are you going to participate in the draft next year? Chui Wanjun changed his tone and asked Li Ran. Next year, I plan to participate in the draft with Derek. Li Ran nodded. Chui Wanjun hesitated for a moment and said, don't put any pressure on this draft. Last year, A.League ranked 6th. To be honest with you, you are likely to be in the second round of the draft or even lose this year. It's really not possible. I still have some opportunities in the CBA, so you can come back with me to play in the CBA. Originally, Chui Wanjun felt that Li Ran would be an excellent player in China, and even the first defender to enter the first round. But Li Ran's injury mercilessly shattered his fantasies. He is certainly aware of the impact of Achilles tendon rupture on a player, and NCAA players, even if they don't play well in a game, may experience a roller coaster decline in draft predictions, let alone experiencing such injuries. So he chose to be honest with Li Ran in advance. However, he didn't know that Li Ran still had a system. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Little Bear Candy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Little Bear Candy, thank you, Uncle Chui. I understand now. Li Ran smiled and nodded. Chui Wanjun sighed and chatted with Li Ran about family matters before leaving with Calipari. Li Ran watched the two of them leave, shook his head, and picked up the newspaper that he had not finished reading just now. The headline of the sports section of the newspaper is written in a shocking line of big characters. Genius falls. One of the Illinois Gemini stars has suffered a serious injury and is afraid to bid farewell to his basketball career. The one written inside is exactly Li Ran. Humph. Let's wait and see. Li Ran looked at his right leg covered in plaster, sneered, folded the newspaper, and placed it on the head of the bed. Time passed quickly, and when Li Ran walked into the University of Memphis basketball court in a wheelchair, it was already September. The players of the Memphis Tigers are sweating profusely during training under the command of Chui Wanjun. Looking at these unfamiliar players besides Ross, Li Ran's eyes were as plain as water. Seeing Li Ran come in, Ross immediately stopped training and ran over. He casually draped a towel over his shoulder and held a bottle of Gatorade in his hand. Arriving in front of Li Ran, Ross first wiped his sweat, then opened the Gatorade and gulped down a sigh of surprise before saying to Li Ran, "Li, have you been discharged from the hospital?" "Yeah, my recovery was surprisingly good." The doctor asked me to be discharged early. If there were no accidents, I should be able to recover in about 3 months, Lee Ran said with a smile. The efficacy of the low-level recovery potion is really beyond doubt. Even his attending doctor was amazed when he drank 6 bottles, attributing Lee Ran's miraculous recovery speed to his youth and good physique. When Lee Ran was discharged from the hospital, he felt a bit embarrassed and said to him, "Lee, I want to take back the words you just had after the surgery. If this recovery continues, you are likely to continue your basketball career. We have won 2 consecutive games, and when you recover from your injury, it should be around February. We can play the rest of the matches together, and after adjusting well, it will happen to be crazy March. Ross's eyes were filled with longing. He seemed to have remembered something and went to the sidelines, pulling out a small bottle from his training suit pants. Arriving in front of Lee Ran, Ross opened the small bottle and poured out something to fill his mouth. Lee Ran burst into laughter in silence. How old is everyone? They still love to eat candy so much. Ross ate gummies that matched his nickname perfectly, and this guy was almost obsessed with gummies. Ross smiled nonchalantly and handed another grain to Lee Ran. Lee Ran took it and put it in his mouth. So sweet. At this moment, a black man with a square head and a square brain approached the two of them. "Derek, is this the Lee you often talk about?" Ross nodded and said, "That's right, Chris. Lee's football skills are better than mine. As long as he recovers from his injury, we can definitely win the championship this year." Chris Douglas Roberts smiled disdainfully in his heart. "Do you still want to play basketball when your Achilles tendon is broken?" He claims to be the leader of the team and doesn't hesitate to talk to Ross. "Let's wait until he recovers from his injury." Chris Douglas Roberts, abbreviated as CDR, is considered the leader of the team because he averages more points per game than Ross. In the first 2 games, although they were warmed-up matches, the Tigers also won a winning streak without any surprises or risks. The CDR scores in the 2 games were 25 points and 23 points respectively, which exactly surpassed Ross's 23 points and 21 points. He has a sharp breakthrough, precise projection, and excellent athletic ability, which is on par with Ross for a while. Ross shook his head and said, No, Chris, you don't know how powerful Lee is." CDR was too lazy to argue with Ross, just smiled and returned to training on the field. Time flies, and after the Tigers won 3 more games, Lee Ran sat in his wheelchair, watching the injury status bar with just 100 days left, and solemnly used the long-cherished top-tier recovery potion. At the moment of drinking, the pain and discomfort in the ankle completely disappeared. "Looking at my status bar again, that terrible injury has completely disappeared." Lee Ran took off his protective gear and felt it for a moment, without any hesitation. And his attributes such as speed and bounce, which were affected by injuries, have also disappeared from the parentheses, and his ability values have been restored. Even due to the significant improvement in steals and frontcourt rebounding attributes, his ability values have reached 70 points. The apartment he is currently living in was rented again to cover up his injuries, and he did not share it with Ross. He plans to wait until his injuries are healed before living with Ross. And behind this apartment, there is half a basketball court. Picking up a basketball casually, Lee Ran walked effortlessly towards the backyard. He has never felt so relaxed since his travels. Picking up the ball and standing outside the 3-point line, Lee Ran took a deep breath. Just as he was about to shoot, he suddenly stopped and took a big step back before lightly jumping up. Bend knees, take off, shake wrists. A smooth set of movements is made, with the ball passing through a perfect arc obediently fell into the basket. The feel is good. Lee Ran looked at his big hands with satisfaction. He measured his hands, which were 27 centimeters long. These big hands were enviable by many basketball players, but they didn't affect his feel at all, which surprised Lee Ran the most. Then, he picked up the ball again and jumped up from under the basket with his legs vigorously without running up. I don't know what this body grew up on, but Lee Ran effortlessly completed a standing jump arm dunk. Then, he came outside the 3-point line and ran up to take off. After jumping up, Lee Ran stretched his entire body as much as he could, swapping the ball from his crotch to his right hand in the air, and then dunking the ball heavily into the basket. The place where he just took off was one step within the free throw line, which was almost the same as the classic action in the dunk contest between Raven and Gordon. Perfect talent. Coupled with system upgrades. NBA, I'm here. Under the cool moonlight, Lee Ran stood with one hand holding the ball under the basket, with a satisfied smile on his face. Ross was eating gummy bears in his mouth, looking surprised as if he were watching an alien as he watched his friend limp on the floor. He almost wanted to take Lee Ran to the hospital for a thorough examination to determine if he was a human. How can one walk on the ground with a broken Achilles tendon in just over 2 months? Are you joking? Although he has great confidence in his physical fitness and feels that he will not be troubled by devastating injuries like Lee Ran, his recovery speed still surprises him. In another month, I should be able to go to the team for training. Lee Ran pretended to take a few steps in front of Ross and showed him his ankle, which no longer needed protective gear, making a decision to endure for the last month. Are you sure there won't be any sequelae left? Ross murmured. My attending physician is the most authoritative, he said. If he can't, he won't. Lee Ran confidently said. However, the attending physician in his mouth is not the black doctor from that special hospital, but the system. Ross nodded and stuffed another piece of soft candy into his mouth, sleepwalking as he prepared to leave Lee Ran's apartment. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. My day has 32 hours. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. My day has 32 hours. Hey, little bear, don't live at school tomorrow, move in with me. Lee Ran suddenly called out to Ross. Ross knew that Lee Ran was wealthy, but he didn't want to be polite to him. He nodded and casually took Lee Ran's car key from the cabinet. Moving, of course, having a car would be more convenient. When Ross left, Lee Ran first took off his disguise and ran to the backyard to start training. He is well aware that talent is the cornerstone of his football skills, but only through hard work, combined with the help of the system, can he truly succeed. After completing a simple training session, Lee Ran took a shower and sat on the sofa, staring blankly at his own system space. In system space, there is a task. There is also a new feature. The task is called Participate in an NCAA competition. The function is called a training ground. Or it can be called a simulation training system. Simulated training system. Enable using ability points. Basic training, if the ability value is below 60, attributes can be improved through basic training. Activate 100 ability points. Advanced training. If the ability value is below 70, attributes can be improved through advanced training. 500 ability points activated. Special training. Conduct specialized training for a certain attribute. 1000 ability points activated. Practical training. The system randomly selects a game and rewards based on the performance of the entire game. 2000 ability points activated. The improvement effect of all training is determined by the training effect. Each time it opens, it lasts for 1 month. A few days ago, Lee Ran had already started a 1-month basic training using his only 100 ability points. Basic training, as the name suggests, Lee Ran needs to do the most basic dribbling, shooting, strength and other aspects of training. If there is equipment in reality, such as the basketball hoop used for shooting training, he can directly train in reality. If there are no devices in reality or higher level training is enabled, then it is necessary to train in the system space, which is open for 8 hours every day. Lee Ran used up the 8 hours he gave each day before using the remaining time to train in reality. For no other reason, the 8 hours in the system will not consume real time. This also means that Lee Ran has 8 more hours of training time per day than others. However, Lee Ran's attributes are not increasing rapidly. Lower attributes may increase by 1.2 points in a day, but as they approach 60, the growth rate slows down. And the attribute of a 3-point ball, as it has already exceeded the range of 60, can only provide Lee Ran with the function of maintaining hand feel. Now, there are still 25 days left for the duration of this basic training session. Lee Ran's current number of ability points is 0, so he urgently needs to complete that task. This is also the first task given to him by the system. Participate in an NCAA competition. Reward: 100 ability points. Lee Ran felt that life was going slowly because he still had many days to run and jump openly in front of others. But Ross feels like life is going by quickly. Because unconsciously, the Memphis Tigers have won 5 consecutive games. The Southern University League, also known as the C.USA League, cannot be considered the top league of the NCAA, while the Memphis Tigers are undoubtedly the top team of the NCAA this season. Even without Lee Ran, the Memphis Tigers lineup is still the same as in history. Ross and CDR completely dominated the game. They rampaged and faced opponents hard, causing other teams in the Southern University League to complain incessantly. In December, the Tigers continued their winning streak. Just after Christmas, on the last day of 2007, the Tigers had just won their 10th game after 10 games. CDR averaged 18.7 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 2.2 assists per game. As a freshman, Ross delivered a perfect answer sheet with 15.6 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 5.1 assists. It should be noted that NCAA adopts a 35-second attack time limit per round, which means that NCAA has much fewer rounds per game than the NBA, which uses the 24-second rule. So the scores of the two are really not too low. But these are not important. The most important thing is that Lee Ran can finally appear openly and appear in front of everyone like a normal person. To be honest, Lee, your recovery speed is beyond my expectations. I have never seen a player recover so quickly after a broken Achilles tendon. Perhaps your examination results were wrong at the time, Calipari said to Lee Ran with a surprised expression on his face. Coach, I'm ready now. That's right, the team doctor has already told me this good news. You can train with the team at any time, but Lee, I won't touch the starting lineup of the current team. The team's chemistry is very wonderful now, and I don't want your return to ruin everything that's perfect. Calipari said rudely. Lee Ran was taken aback. Do you want me to play as a substitute even though I have recovered from my injuries? After a moment of anger, Lee Ran calmed down. Forget it, let's go on the bench. After those NBA superstars recover from injuries, they still have to go to NBDL to find their form. He silently comforted himself in his heart. The training level of NCAA is not as high as that in the system space, but fortunately, with complete facilities, Lee Ran can be seen as an addition to the system training and enjoys it. 2 days later, they faced Lee Ran's first opponent since his return at their home ground. Durham University Bibo team. Durham University has a history of 170 years, and their team has also contributed dozens of players to the NBA. Although not very famous, they are still considered an established team in the Southern University League. But it is such a team that, under the joint efforts of Ross and CDR, has no resistance at all. In just half a game, the Tigers established their victory, leading their opponents by a full 25 points 55.30. This is a score that is almost impossible to overturn in the slow pace of NCAA. Throughout the first half, Lee Ran sat obediently off the field, but did not get a minute of playing time. He is not in a hurry either, quietly waiting for the moment when he appears. Unfortunately, in the second half, the Bibo team did not give up and continued to send in key players with the intention of chasing points. Calipari inherited the excellent bad breath of Larry Brown's team, played as a key player, and always kept Ross and the others on the field. So in the end, Lee Ran didn't even get a minute of playing time. 3 years without flying, soaring to the sky, 3 years without singing, stunning. On the way back, Lee Ran kept silently reciting this sentence, gritting his teeth. Lee, what have you been muttering about? Ross turned his head strangely and asked Lee Ran. It's nothing, I said you did really well today, Lee Ran chuckled dryly. Ross performed really well today, playing for 32 minutes throughout the game, winning double-doubles with 12 points and 11 assists, as well as 4 rebounds and 3 steals, completing his mission perfectly. And the Tigers' starting center Joey Dorsey, who enjoyed eating the cake fed by Ross, was the most beautiful kid today. He scored 21 points and 12 rebounds in a 20+10 game. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Ross's team bullying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Ross's team bullying. I don't know when you'll be able to play. It's been so long since you played, are you hungry? Ross threw a bear gummy into his mouth and said to Lee Ran with ill intentions. Lee Ran sighed. It's not up to me whether I play or not. John seems to be very dissatisfied with me. It's okay, you will definitely have a chance to play, I promise. Ross confidently said to Lee Ran. 3 days later, there was another NCAA game where the Tigers went to Hattiesburg, Mississippi to challenge the University of South Mississippi Golden Eagles. The match between a tiger and an eagle looks like a battle between dragons and tigers. But before the game, the Tigers had a problem. The team's starting small forward Antonio Anderson approached Calipari with a bitter expression on his face. Coach, I'm feeling a bit unwell today. Calipari was shocked and said, what's going on? Maybe I didn't eat very clean yesterday, Anderson stuttered. Well. Calipari looked around and realized that the team didn't even bring a substitute small forward today. The players on the bench were either point guards or inside players. Sigh. Do you think there's one? Calipari's gaze suddenly turned to the seemingly forgotten Lee Ran in the corner. At this moment, Ross also happened to speak up at the meeting. Coach, Lee can play as a small forward, why not let him play? Calipari thought for a moment, and Ross still needs to give face. Besides, today's opponent is not a strong team, so why not let Lee Ran give it a try? At least I also received a full sports scholarship. Although I was injured and haven't played for so long, I still need to go on stage and see how it looks. So Calipari nodded. Lee, you go up. Lee Ranching quickly took off his training uniform, revealing an extremely arrogant nickname. Number 0. He originally intended to use the number 23, but the number 25 that Ross used in high school couldn't be used because the Penny Hathaway had been used before and had been retired from the team, so he gave the number 23 to Ross. Finally, Lee Ran chose number 0, which is somewhat special. So, in this game, the starting lineup of the Tigers changed temporarily. Center. Robert Dozier. Power forward. Joey Dorsey. Small forward. Lee Ran. Shooting guard. Chris Douglas Roberts. Point guard. Derrick Ross. The reason why Calipari easily followed Ross's advice to let Lee Ran play is because in his tactics, the position of small forwards is not particularly high. In the Tigers, the inner line is basically pure blue collar, only responsible for the dirty and tiring work of rebounding defense. On the outside, there are dual guns from Ross and CDR responsible for scoring. To put it bluntly, in the position of small forward, even a small dog can win. However, neither Calipari nor Lee Ran noticed that before coming on stage, Ross gave Anderson a proud glance. Anderson nodded bitterly. The thing is, before the game, Ross suddenly blocked Anderson in the toilet. Antonio, I usually treat you well, Ross said to Anderson without any hesitation about the current situation, chewing on the gummy bear, with a look of banditry on his face. Although Ross is only a freshman this year, he is the core of the team. And poor Anderson's fame is not on the same level as Ross, who is sure to make a name for himself in the NBA. So he nodded honestly. Okay. Can you stop playing today? Lee Ran hasn't played for half a year yet. Let him play for you today. Anderson never expected that, despite being nearly 2 meters tall and being a member of the school team, he would still be bullied in school one day. Looking at Ross, who was half a head shorter than himself, Anderson considered for 3 seconds before finally nodding from his heart. Okay. Be sensible, I'll pass you a few more balls in the next game. Ross patted Anderson's shoulder with satisfaction. So there was the scene before the competition. Standing on the field, feeling the long-lost hot atmosphere, Lee Ran never expected that his starting position today would be so secure. Lee, after coming on the field, keep up with Derek and Chris' rhythm, and have a fast transition speed between offense and defense. If you can't keep up with the rhythm, I will replace you as soon as possible. Calipari knelt in front of the technical platform and shouted loudly at Lee Ran. Lee Ran nodded at him to indicate that he knew. Joidosi, who was responsible for the jump ball, effortlessly dribbled the ball over the head of Brazilian center Gustavo Lino of the Golden Eagles. Lee Ran received the ball and passed it to Ross as soon as possible. Ross didn't hesitate and directly activated, killing the 5 members of the Golden Eagle team who had just retreated. At this moment, his figure seemed to overlap with the figure of Bull 1 in later generations. A breakthrough without any delay. After half a season of polishing, Ross now has the shadow of the youngest MVP in the future. It's really a familiar scent, without any deceleration at all. Lee Ran smiled and watched as Ross, who had already broken through to the inside line and successfully dunked, excitedly howled and stood cross-legged at the spot where he had just served. How's it going, buddy? Are you doing okay? Ross passed by Lee Ran when he returned to defense and proudly said to him. Let's just say, can you hang the hoop a little bit when dunking in the future? Can your knees handle it? Lee Ran said half jokingly and half seriously. My knees are made of iron, it's okay. Ross replied nonchalantly, then turned around to prepare for defense. The Golden Eagles team was not intimidated by Ross's preemptive start, and their running tactics were strict and straightforward. The NCAA team values tactical coordination and teamwork the most, and some strong teams have a level of technical and tactical skills that is comparable to the NBA. And the tactical core of the Golden Eagle team this season seems to be the opposing player Lee Ran is responsible for defending. As the core of the Golden Eagle team, Jamie Wise is ready to help his team regain the field. He received the ball from the low post and turned around to face Lee Ran, who was defending him. He is a typical black and hard player with excellent physical fitness. Although his skills are average, his impact is extremely strong, and he often performs a series of spectacular dunks. He is the most outstanding player of this Golden Eagle team. Yellow-skinned person. He had long noticed the existence of Lee Ran, but his only impression of a yellow-skinned basketball player was the Rockets' Chinese giant Yao Ming. He lowered his center of gravity and prepared to teach Lee Ran a lesson in his best face-frame singles. Then, there was no more. Just as he made a move, Wise felt a light touch in his hand. He looked down in surprise and realized that the ball was no longer in his hands at some point. At the same time, a gentle breeze blew in his ear. He suddenly turned around and saw a number 0 fluttering in the wind, running wildly with the ball. Lee Ran can no longer remember the last time he ran recklessly on the field like this. His terrifying physical talent gave him top speed, making him sweep the entire field like lightning on the field. In Calipari, in Chui Wanjun, in Ross, and in the surprised gaze of all the audience in the room, Lee Ran quickly crossed the midline and took 2 more big steps. At this point, he had already reached the 3-point line. He didn't hesitate at all. With both hands clasped together, he took a step within the free throw line, lifted the basketball with one hand and jumped high, gliding for a distance like a flying bird, lightly dunking the ball into the basket. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Front court rebounds are something that cannot be forced. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Front court rebounds are something that cannot be forced. When Lee Ran landed, the whole room fell silent. After a full 3 seconds, the entire stadium was ignited like an erupting volcano. So fast. So elegant. He seems to be flying. At this moment, a shadow came to everyone's mind. Glider, Drexler. Calipari turned his head to look at Chui Wanjun with a frightened expression and said, "Chui, do you think he suffered a serious injury like a broken Achilles tendon 3 months ago?" Chui Wanjun was both surprised and delighted in his heart. Is it true that Huaxia is going to become the first backcourt player to compete in the NBA, given the form that Lee Ran showed with this ball just now? Thinking about the national team composed of NBA players such as Yao Ming, Yi Jianlian, Wang Zhizhi, Bartle, Sun Yu, and Lee Ran, Chui Wanjun couldn't help but tremble in his heart. Because this summer, Huaxia is about to welcome the first Olympic Games at its doorstep. Seeing Lee Ran's explosive performance, Ross now has only one feeling. Unexpectedly, within reason. Because in the past, Lee Ran's playing style was just like that. But he just recovered from his injury. The Golden Eagle team suffered heavy blows at the beginning, but they didn't panic too much. No matter how exciting the dunk is, there are only 2 points. They continued their leisurely running tactics and finally found space for the defender to take a high jump shot. But the arc of this ball's release is outrageous. Rebound. With a loud roar from Calipari off the field, Lee Ran instinctively turned around and stuck Hunter behind him. The rebound was taken by Joey Dorsey, and Lee Ran was about to run forward when Calipari shouted loudly at him off the field. "Keep up with the rhythm. The rebounds are not under your control." On the field, players naturally have to listen to the coach. But Lee Ran suddenly felt a headache as he looked at his 99 rebounds in the front court. What should I do to tell the coach that my front court rebounds are incredibly strong? Waiting online, it's quite urgent. Arriving at the front court, the protagonist of the Tiger team's attack was changed to CDR. He kept shaking away the opposing player, then pulled up and threw. The curve of this ball is not quite right, and Calipari frowned as he prepared to watch the team's next defensive round. At that moment, his face suddenly changed. Because Lee Ran, who was supposed to withdraw, suddenly turned around and killed towards the inside line. Damn it, is the ball quotient so low? Why grab this offensive rebound if you don't retreat immediately? As soon as this thought flashed through Calipari's mind, his pupils shrank. The ball hit the edge of the basket and then bounced high. The interior of the Golden Eagle team was already stuck, and the center forward was just about to jump up and catch the ball when suddenly he felt a black sensation on his head. Then, a large yellow hand appeared above his head, grabbing the disobedient ball back in the air and then dunking it heavily into the basket. At this moment, Gustavo, the Brazilian center of the Golden Eagles, felt a heaviness on his body and pounced forward in embarrassment. The stadium fell silent once again. Everyone's gaze once again focused on the yellow-skinned number 0 riding arrogantly on Gustavo, with one hand hanging from the basket. What kind of fairy ball is this? Even in the NBA, this kind of ball is not common, right? Lee Ran hung on the basket with one hand for a while, only to let go when Gustavo left the scene. He gently landed on the ground and ran back, accidentally hitting Ross's shoulder as he passed by. "How's it going, buddy? Did I recover well?" Ross no longer knows how to answer Lee Ran. "How do you feel like coming back with a broken leg?" This thing is stronger than before. The excellent performance of Lee Ran's debut exceeded everyone's expectations. In less than 3 minutes of the game, he scored 4 points, 1 rebound, and 1 steal, and together with Ross, he managed the team's first 6 points. The head coach of the Golden Eagle team was clearly caught off guard. He frowned and looked at Calipari, who was kneeling in front of the technical stage. We don't know what kind of problem these coaches have. Half of the 10 photos were kneeling in front of the technical stage, cheering the players. When did Memphis University produce such a player? It's not enough to have Ross and CDR. Thinking of this, he suddenly froze. He remembered that last summer, there was another player who joined Memphis with Ross. That player comes from China and is the best high school player in Illinois for 2 consecutive years. But that kid, isn't he supposed to have a broken Achilles tendon and be reimbursed for the season? Watching Lee Ran bouncing around on the field, the head coach of the Golden Eagle team finally linked him to the unlucky kid with a broken Achilles tendon, and for a moment, he was somewhat skeptical about life. He had already arranged a defensive strategy against Ross and CDR before the game. Although he may not be able to beat the Tigers, he could still entangle with them. Who could think of killing Cheng Yao-jin halfway? Although the game was only played for 3 minutes, he already felt that his team was facing a lot of bad luck today. Thinking of this, he looked towards Calipari's side. Not bad for being a handsome coach, I racked my brain to prepare to end the Tigers' winning streak. They casually threw a bottom card and left me unable to find the north. Just as he was lost in thought, another astonishing scene occurred on the stage. Lee Ran, the yellow-skinned number 0, surprisingly made another move beyond understanding. The CDR, who had not scored a single point, once again opened up the space, and when he received a pass from Ross, he opened his hand without hesitation outside the 3-point line and threw. But he clearly had a cold hand today, and his usual shot, which was almost guaranteed, went off the basket again. During a normal offensive and defensive transition, the Golden Eagles had already secured their position in advance and were preparing to steadily collect the defensive rebound from the closest spot to the ball. At this moment, a slightly slender figure relative to the 2 insiders appeared in the infield at an unknown time. At the most appropriate time, he jumped up and grabbed the ball in front of the 2 at the most perfect time. The 2 brothers inside the Golden Eagle team are both foolish. What is the situation? Lee Ran once again grabbed the frontcourt rebounds. At the moment of the CDR shooting, Calipari's gaze had already shifted towards the backcourt, and it was obvious that the ball could not be scored. But after waiting for several seconds, I couldn't find where the ball was. At this point, CDR once again received the ball from his shooting position. He hesitated for a moment while holding the ball before hastily shooting at Lee Ran's reminder. At this moment, he was empty within a radius of 3 meters. However, it was evident that the basket had unilaterally covered him today. CDR hits another iron with anger. After landing, CDR looked down at his hand. Today feels really cold to the touch. He sighed regretfully and prepared to defend himself. Occasional rebounding in the front court is enough, we can't rely on it. Just as the thought arose, the orange basketball flew towards him again in the crevice under the basket. Looking at Lee Ran, who was looking at him under the basket and gesturing for him to shoot quickly, Chris was completely dumbfounded. Is this frontcourt rebound a big carrot? Or is it that the thick inner line of the Golden Eagle team is just mediocre and not useful? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Snow Storage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Snow Storage. This time, under Lee Ran's eager gaze for assistance, Chris finally didn't miss again. He deliberately dribbled the ball, took a step forward, adjusted his breathing, and then took off, steadily pitching the ball into the basket within the 3-point line. He clenched his fists excitedly, as if he had thrown a winning goal. Why don't we continue with 3 runs when there's no one defending next to us? However, when Lee Ran passed by him, a single sentence immediately confused him. It doesn't matter if you can't get in, there's a chance. Lee Ran said to Chris with a particularly domineering tone. Chris looked at Gustavo, who is 7 feet 1 inch tall, and Andrew Stevenson, who is 6 feet 9 inches tall as the Golden Eagles power forward. He also looked at Lee Ran, who is only 1.93 meters tall, equivalent to 6 feet 3 inches. Just kidding, they have a height of 2.16 meters. Can they lift you up? How did you have the courage to confidently say the phrase, rigid? But after thinking about it, Lee Ran, along with the initial dunk, did indeed grab 3 frontcourt rebounds on top of the Golden Eagles' inner line. He also assisted himself to get the first point of this game. The first half lasted for more than 5 minutes, and the rhythm on the field was somewhat different from what the players, coaches, and spectators on the sidelines thought. The 23rd from China is really eye-catching. Who are you all here to see? Look at Derek Cross, look at Chris Douglas Roberts. I'm not here to see you. However, some early spectators recognized Lee Ran. Isn't this Lee Ran, who was once known as the twin star of Illinois alongside Ross? Didn't he get injured at the beginning of the season and haven't played a single game since then? Calipari is currently very conflicted off the field. The team is in good condition and the game momentum is also normal. But he was very nervous in his heart. Be care. Seeing Lee Ran rushing into the muscular forest of the inner line without hesitation, Calipari instinctively wanted to speak up. But the next second, the second half of the word was forcefully swallowed by him. Nice. Chui Wanjun beside him helped him say what he should be saying at this moment. Lee Ran miraculously grabbed this frontcourt rebound under the siege of several big men in the interior. Looking at the Golden Eagles' inner line duo, who saw themselves surrounded by 2 bread sandwiches and cheese, raised their hands high and had an unpleasant expression, Lee Ran handed the ball out of the crevice from his heart. He didn't dare to take off and launch a second attack directly. When he finally arrived at the field, Lee Ran realized that his consciousness and body seemed to be not on the same dimension. There is a serious sense of delay. Have you not adapted to your body yet? It has been so long, Lee Ran thought to himself as he passed the ball. He didn't realize that this was the first time he had stood on a formal competition field since his travels. The rhythm of the official competition and the training during Peace Day are fundamentally 2 concepts. Joey Dorsey received the ball, easily jumped up, dunked with both hands, and scored 2 points for the Tigers. The rebounder in the front court was Shui, but Lee Ran just forcefully took off and took a shot, which is likely to be a big hat that hits the head and covers the face. You can ride on your opponent's head and defecate, but you cannot look down on them. There are no weak players who can play in NCAA. The CDR's feel was really poor today. He played for more than 10 minutes in the first half and only scored 4 points in total. He made 2 out of 7 shots without any free throws. However, Ross still played steadily today, making 4 out of 6 shots and taking 2 out of 2 free throws, already scoring 10 points. But both of them didn't perform as well as Lee Ran today. Lee Ran didn't score much, scoring 6 out of 3 shots. But besides these 6 points, he also has 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 assists. The most incredible thing is that all 5 of his rebounds were from the front court. This means that Lee Ran dominated the interior of the Golden Eagle team today as a small forward. What is the concept of 5 frontcourt rebounds and 5 opportunities for second offense? Even so, Lee Ran was still very unhappy. He felt constrained on the field and couldn't fully output. In the first half, the Tigers played for 15 minutes, leading the Golden Eagles by 9 points 31-22. The Golden Eagle team called for a pause, and Calipari looked at Lee Ran, who was sweating and drinking, with a strange expression on his face. Lee Ran saw Calipari's expression and felt that he could understand his current mood very well. He said he played well, but he didn't execute any of the tactical arrangements before the game. Whenever there was a chance, he would dive into the interior, creating a serious loophole in the Tigers' defense. Say he's not playing well, he even grabbed 5 frontcourt rebounds. But Calipari is not so similar. As a famous coach, Calipari couldn't tell that although Lee Ran performed well, he wasted more opportunities on the field than he scored. The injury is still not good. Although the body has healed, the problem of decreased reaction caused by the injury still exists. If he is forcibly placed on the field, it is very likely to be injured again. Calipari sighed as if he had made a decision. Antonio, when you come on, Lee, you come down. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone on the Tiger team was stunned. Lee Ran's performance in these 15 minutes was perfect, even doing tasks that were not his own. Why replace him? But looking at Calipari's not very good-looking face, everyone fell silent. Lee Ran looked up at Calipari, nodded expressionlessly, and sat down on the bench, covering his face with a towel, as if I was very unhappy now and didn't even pay attention to me. Calipari gave Lee Ran a deep glance, while Chui Wanjun looked worried. He knew that although Lee Ran performed well, he did not follow Calipari's pre-match tactical arrangements. Not obedient. If you don't listen, I'll hide you. Even if you have Jordan's talent and don't play for a season, who knows you as a scout? Do you still want to draft? Dreaming. The head coaches of NCAA almost all have infinite authority, and it is too easy for them to destroy a player. Unlike the NBA, the head coaches of the NBA, in addition to the special presence of Petrelli who also serves as the general manager, have a general manager or even a boss pressing them, making it not easy to hide a player. But NCAA teams are mostly dominated by the head coach's words. These are all brain teasers for Chui Wanjun. What he doesn't know is that Calipari's mood is not as he thinks now. The strength of the Tigers is one level higher than that of the Golden Eagles, and the outcome of this game is already predetermined. Calipari is more concerned about Lee Ran's recovery. Not playing according to tactical arrangements. This is not important, as long as you play well, I can even design tactics specifically for you. He is most concerned about Lee Ran's physical recovery. He was afraid that Lee Ran's forced comeback would lead to a recurrence of the injury, so he only allowed Lee Ran to play for 15 minutes. In this game, relying on the advantages gained earlier and the improved CDR feel, the Tigers still achieved the final victory. However, Lee Ran only played the 15 minutes in the first half. In the following time, Calipari seemed to have something on his mind and didn't even look at him. Only Chui Wanjun quietly came to Lee Ran's side, comforting him with a few words of warmth, but it was unclear whether Lee Ran had actually listened. Finally, Lee Ran's first NCAA game data can only regretfully remain at 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Lee Ran is not very concerned about Calipari's attitude. What cannot defeat me can only make me stronger. As long as I am strong enough, one day you will demand that I play. Lee Ran, who had a strong sense of not being deceived by the young man's poverty, finished packing up and went home with Ross. On the way back, Ross complained all the way. When he arrived, it was clearly agreed that both of them were the core of the team. Now, Calipari suddenly changed his mind, which made him very unhappy for his brothers. The coach is going too far. Even though you have already recovered from your injury, why didn't you play? Ross complained to Lee Ran, who had a calm expression, while eating gummies. Tomorrow I need to come to him for theoretical analysis, Ross said to Lee Ran as if he had made up his mind and got off the car. Don't worry, just focus on playing your ball. It's our business. Don't get involved with you anymore. The team is doing well this year, so don't let these things affect our championship. Lee Ran quickly refused. He doesn't really care about Calipari only allowing him to play for 15 minutes. Because he is still adapting to the rhythm of NCAA, adapting to this body, more precisely, adapting to the super strong physical talent of this body. Lee Ran felt that as long as he appeared honestly, his performance should get better and better. And what Ross currently lacks the most is this high-intensity competition experience. If his relationship with Calipari collapses again, won't the top scorer fly away? The high school games were too easy for Ross, and the average of nearly 3 doubles per game was not representative. Although Ross was angry, he always listened to Lee Ran's words. He angrily walked into an apartment, sat down on the sofa, stuffed 2 more candies into his mouth, and chewed on them, his cheeks bulging and making him look very cute. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Calipari's Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Calipari's plan. In the following period of time, Lee Ran continued to train and play with the team, but his performance was not very good, and each game only lasted for a dozen or so minutes. Everyone believes that after being severely injured, this former genius high school student has now disappeared from the public. Only Calipari doesn't think so. In daily training, Lee Ran's visible improvement in state was clearly visible to Calipari. Even towards the end of the regular season, under the arrangement of Calipari, Lee Ran had already played with the main players during training. The Tigers have been very strong this season, so even though Lee Ran's performance did not meet expectations, they still had an almost perfect record. Starting with a 26-game winning streak and winning 33 games and losing one throughout the season, these are all the challenges that this Memphis Tigers team has brought to the entire NCAA. The outside combination of Ross and CDR has also become a popular crispy fried chicken in the NCAA league, and has improved his NBA draft forecast ranking again and again. It's a pity, if your form can recover to the current level when playing at the University of Tennessee, we can definitely end this season with a perfect record. Ross said to Lee Ran with regret while warming up. Lee Ran can now be described as having a thigh during team training. Upon hearing this, Lee Ran only smiled slightly and continued to maintain his rhythm while jogging on the treadmill. After more than a month of training, his various attributes have been improved to some extent. Although his already high attributes such as speed and bounce cannot be further improved, he has almost made up for his shortcomings. The most important thing is that he has fully adapted to this body, and the wonderful experience brought by his super strong physical talent makes Lee Ran unable to stop. Too strong. Lee Ran, 19 years old, height 195 centimeters, 199 centimeters, arm span 218 centimeters, 221 centimeters, weight 86 kilograms, sports. Strength 73, speed 91, agility 84, bounce 93, endurance 81-inch, projection. 3-pointers. 77, mid-range shooting. 65, free throw. 70-inch, inner line. Back body technique. 45, inner line projection. 47-inch, rebounds. Defensive rebounds. 51, offensive rebounds. 99-inch, breakthrough. Ball control. 71, footsteps. 61, fancy moves. 57-inch, organization. Vision. 43, passing. 41-inch, defense. Inner defense. 44, outer defense. 57 plus 3, co-defense. 66, block. 68, steals. 81-inch, ability value. 73-inch, status. Normal, skill. None. Evaluation. Guardian of water dispensers, he has grown 2 centimeters taller, his arm span has also increased a bit, and his evaluation has changed from an NCAA elite player to a guardian angel of the water dispenser. Lee Ran knew that this water dispenser did not refer to NCAA's water dispenser, but to NBA's water dispenser. With an ability value of 73, one can indeed become a qualified edge player in an NBA team. However, this cannot satisfy Lee Ran. His goal is to increase his ability to around 75 when he wins the championship and participates in the draft at the end of the NCAA season. The reason why he wants to win the championship is because the semi-lifeless system finally released a new task for him after the last time he was given the task to participate in the first NCAA competition. Task: win the NCAA championship and become a MOP. Reward: draw once in a Super 10 game, with 5,000 ability points and 5 free attribute points. The system is clearly much more generous this time, not only giving him a reward of 25,000 ability points, but also giving him 5 free attribute points. After all, the requirement for this mission is to win the championship and the MOP title in March of Madness. Lee Ran has a headache. His current strength has basically recovered, but Calipari continued to let him play in the limited time in the previous few games. In this situation, the most urgent thing is not Li Ran, not Calipari, nor Ross, but Cui Wanjun. Cui Wanjun saw it in his eyes and was anxious in his heart. For Calipari, the Tigers had one more Li Ran, not much, and one less Li Ran. But for him, Li Ran is the hope of the Chinese basketball front and back line. You didn't let Li Ran play the game, isn't that person useless? He also dares not directly seek out Calipari's theory. After all, he is only here to learn and communicate, and as the head coach, especially the head coach of NCAA, Calipari has supreme authority in the team. More importantly, Li Ran also looked indifferent. You need to stand up. Cui Wanjun said to Li Ran more than once. Li Ran helplessly spread his hands and said, I don't want to either. The other side keeps entering my wilderness. No, Calipari keeps not letting me play. What can I do? We are about to enter the knockout stage of the Southern University League. As the first place in the league, Memphis University does not need to play the first round of knockout matches. They need to face the winners of the 8th and 9th places in the second round. After a fierce battle, Durham University, ranked 9th with a record of 49.48, narrowly defeated Marshall University, ranked 8th. They will challenge the towering king of the Southern University Alliance, the University of Memphis, in 2 days. After finishing the training class, Li Ran prepared to return to the apartment with Ross as usual. However, at this moment, an unexpected voice called out to Li Ran, who was carrying a bag and preparing to go out. Li, please leave me for a moment. I have something to say to you. Derek, you go back first, Calipari said expressionlessly to the two of them, pushing his glasses on the bridge of his nose. Ross looked at Li Ran with some concern, but Li Ran nodded at him. You go back first. Then, Li Ran followed Calipari to his office. It's almost a year now, and this is Li Ran's first time coming to Calipari's office. His office is very large, but the space seems cramped because there are too many things in the office. On both sides of the wall are 2 huge bookshelves. One bookshelf contains various basketball books, while the other bookshelf is filled with videotapes, neatly arranged according to the age of the game. These 2 bookcases, paired with a huge, solid wood desk filled with things, create a strong sense of oppression. Calipari unexpectedly arrived at the water dispenser in the corner. What to drink? Coffee, tea, cola. He looked up at Li Ran. Li Ran was somewhat surprised and said, coffee. Calipari came to Li Ran with 2 cups of coffee and handed him one of them. Then he sat down in front of his chair by the window, and the sunlight filtered through the window. Due to the backlight, Calipari appeared to be completely shrouded in shadows. Calipari looked at Li Ran sitting across from his desk and picked up his cup to take a sip of coffee. Li, first of all, I want to apologize to you. As soon as he spoke, Li Ran was taken aback. Li Ran looked up at Calipari with a serious expression on his face. I think I mistakenly estimated your strength. Li Ran suddenly became interested, as if things had turned around. I can be honest with you. Due to your unexpected injury at the beginning of the season, I was under a lot of pressure from the school's senior management. They thought it was a wrong choice for me to recruit you and Derek together to the team. We only needed one Derek, but the team's record this year was very good, and gradually they stopped talking. And in your subsequent matches, I gave you a chance, but your performance was not very good. Li Ran nodded as he was struggling to fit in with his body at the time when Calipari recruited Li Ran and Ross. He thought they were the most suitable players for his DDM tactics, but he didn't expect Li Ran to come up and cause him a big injury. Now, Li Ran's performance in team training is evident, and his performance during matches is also getting better and better. If Li Ran, who became a twin star of Illinois alongside Ross, could also perform like Ross. The picture is too beautiful for Calipari to imagine. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Can it be the core? Just play and you'll know. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 10. Can it be the core? Just play and you'll know, but now I feel like I'm wrong. Calipari threw another sentence. Ah. You're not showing signs of decline, but you haven't fully recovered yet. Not only does your body need to recover from such a serious injury, but your consciousness also needs to recover, which I didn't expect. Calipari sincerely said to Li Ran. Li Ran was stunned. Calipari almost guessed everything correctly, but did not realize that he was not injured, but rather due to time travel, and his body and consciousness needed to readjust to the pace of the game. Now, I confirm that you are completely well. The Illinois twins, who were known alongside Ross last year, have returned and are ready to contribute more to the team, right? Li Ran nodded, confident that he had fully recovered. Crazy March, the stage where American college students compete, should be the place where you shine. During this period, you will intensify your adaptation with the team, tactical arrangements, tactical positions, and other things need to be further adjusted to not affect the team's form. Your playing time will remain the same for the time being until you truly integrate into the team. Speaking of which, Calipari waved his hand excitedly. When the time comes, surprise those opponents. The Tigers are not just Ross and Chris, but also you. Upon hearing these words, Li Ran suddenly felt that the person in front of him was somewhat unfamiliar. Is this still the Calipari who crazily transforms into a hairdryer every day, ignoring himself and looking somewhat rigid? How could he not hear it? What he said about tactical arrangements and status, as well as integration into the team, was to make him the core of the team, just like Ross did. Lee, when I made this decision, I felt like I was crazy, but I really wanted to bring an NCAA championship to Memphis before the contract expired. You won't let me down, will you? Calipari seemed to have missed the surprise in Li Ran's eyes, and the old man said to him in a daze. Li Ran nodded. Since you choose to believe me, I won't let you down. He solemnly said to Calipari. When the craze of March begins, all teams will be afraid. They will see a completely different Memphis University, and all the research done throughout the season will be worthless. Just think of the expressions on our opponents' head coaches, and I am looking forward to it. Calipari crossed his hands, stretched lazily forward, and then lay comfortably on the back of the spacious chair, his expression suddenly becoming relaxed. In the remaining matches, under normal circumstances, you will still have similar playing time as before. I will adjust your playing time according to the situation, but in this way, the opponents will not be aware and they will only think that you are an ordinary bench player. And the knockout stage lasts less than 20 days from the top 64 to the final. According to those old-fashioned attitudes, they cannot react. Calipari's face showed an expression of successful conspiracy. Of course, it's okay if you don't perform well. Even if the team doesn't have you, they are still the biggest favorites to win the championship. If you can perform well, it's just adding a lid to our championship. It seemed like Calipari was too licking the dog in his performance just now, so he warned Li Ran again. Li Ran remained silent and extended his right hand, pressing it against the solid wood desk. Coach, do you think this hand looks like Jordan? Calipari paused for a moment, then smiled happily. Li Ran returned to the apartment, and Ross was shooting in the backyard. What did the coach tell you? Seeing Li Ran returning, Ross quickly asked with concern. It's nothing, just announcing to me the official return of the team's core. Li Ran said with a half smile. Ross clearly had a bit of a brain overload, and he even thought carefully before touching his own inch. I didn't leave the team or get injured either. CDR didn't either. Li Ran laughed heartily at Ross's comical posture. After Calipari expressed his plans, Li Ran's mood improved a lot and he patted Ross on the shoulder. Let me formally introduce myself. My name is Li Ran, the new core of the Memphis Tigers. It took Ross a minute to digest the huge amount of information in Li Ran's sentence. What are you saying? Of course, Li Ran had no intention of playing tricks on his best brother. He carefully told Ross about Calipari's conversation with him. Listening to Lee Rand's words, Ross raised his eyebrows higher and higher. "I knew our coach had real skills, so that's how he planned it," he said with a beaming expression, genuinely happy for Lee Rand. "Do you remember we were at Damien High School?" He excitedly walked around the coffee table a few times and then said to Lee Rand. "Of course, although we couldn't play in the first year, from the second year on, we played together and never lost a game. Let's do it now. From now on, we will not lose and win," said Ross with great enthusiasm. But soon he sat down, leaning on his chin, as if thinking about something. "Lee, if the coach asks you to be the core, I definitely have no objection, but what should the rest of the team do?" He looked up at Lee Rand with some concern. Lee Rand confidently said, "If they don't agree, then hit them." On the second day of training class, Calipari officially announced this news to the team. "Starting from today's training, we will conduct tactical training with Lee Rand as the core." When he said this, all the players except Ross were stunned. They looked at me and I looked at you, and soon someone couldn't help but speak up and question. "Coach, we have been playing very well all season. Why is March going crazy soon and the team needs to change their tactical core?" The speaker is none other than CDR classmate. "Are you kidding me? I've been playing for a season now, and now I'm talking about changing the core. It's going to be March crazy soon. He's playing so well this season and is preparing to brush up on some good data in the knockout stage, win a championship, and then win a MOP, etc., to fight for a good position in the upcoming draft." At such a critical moment, Calipari actually told him to change the team's core. Is Lee Rand the illegitimate son of Calipari? No, the skin color is not right. Anyway, now CDR students have 10,000 disagreements in their hearts. Grab my place, no way. If placed in a 2K game, the CDR's ability value should have dropped by more than 5 points due to mood issues. At this moment, Ross stood up and clearly expressed his support for Lee Rand. "Lee Rand's strength is even stronger than mine, and I agree that he will be the core of the team." There was a disagreement between the two core opinions, and the scene immediately froze. The players next to me don't have any objections. They are not the core of the team's tactics, and most of them don't have the ability to participate in the draft, so they just eat melon and watch the show. How about bullfighting? At this moment, a player suddenly said. Calipari frowned but remained silent. CDR is really hard to come by. He can throw suddenly, has strong physical fitness, and is used to holding the ball. He has played Lee Rand, who hasn't played for a season, and he feels that there is no problem with himself. Lee Rand nodded. No matter how he tries, he must fully defeat the current Memphis players in order to smoothly become the core of the team. The rules are very simple: American bullfighting, 21 balls. CDR scores a 3-point goal and gains the right to kick off. He threw the ball to Lee Rand standing within the 3-point line and washed it. When Lee Rand returned the ball to him, his eyes became sharp. The classic three-threat probing step is a common move used by CDR, who has always boasted that he is Memphis Anthony and his main focus is an attacking kaleidoscope. Lee Rand fixed his horse stance and leaned his long arms toward CDR. Hey! This doesn't feel right. CDR instantly felt a big mountain pressing against him. End of this chapter.